Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's OrnWTF, and in this video we are travelling back to 2004 as we seek to answer the question, could a team of poison types defeat the Hoenn region in Pokemon Emerald? Gen 3 baby, a time before fairy types, the physical special split, and when so many Pokemon were completely crucified by their level up moveset. Pokemon Emerald gives us a grand total of 7 evolution lines that we can encounter, but importantly for us, this typing is one of the many victims of the Roxanne lock, in which it is nearly impossible to effectively get past her mix of great defense and good special defense nose pass. But I am used to bashing my head into a wall, so let's give it a try. A quick reminder for our Hardcore Nuzlocke rules. I can only catch the first eligible encounter on each route. Side note, I will be using the species clause, meaning I can't catch more than one member of a specific evolution line. For example, if I lose a Magikarp in a run, I can't catch another one or get a Gyarados. I must nickname all my Pokemon, further strengthening the bond between them and I. Any Pokemon that faints cannot be used in the run again. No items can be used in battle, so things like X-Attack potions can't be used. However, I do allow myself to use held items. I cannot level my Pokemon past the next gym leader's ace Pokemon. If I do, or I catch a Pokemon above the level cap, I can't use them until the level cap is higher than their level. Finally, I play on set battle mode. With all that said and done, let's jump into the run. Now I feel like there was definitely an extra seat in the front, but what do I know. We finally come to a stop and I'm introduced to the Hoenn region, a beautiful place if it wasn't for all that goddamn water. I decide to hit the town and stumble into this region's professor being attacked by a Zigzagoon. Not really putting that PhD to use here, buddy. After choosing Torchic, I can quickly defeat the Zigzagoon, get the Pokédex, and then put the Torchic in the box, never to be seen again as we catch our true starter Eddie the Wurmple. And after some leveling up, we could see Eddie in his fully evolved form. With our starter in tow, we can stop by our dad's gym, telling him that we don't need his praise anymore. But we have to hold a local boy's hand as my dad lends him a Zigzagoon so he can catch himself a Ralts, which doesn't know any attacking moves. Did my dad just screw this kid over? After officially completing the tutorial, we are set free, and after trekking and foraging through Petalburg Woods, we can get our first encounter with Team Aqua as this random grunt challenges me to a battle which Eddie easily handles with poison stings. And now we're here, Roxanne and our nose pass. We only have one option, and that is to get lucky. But it comes as no surprise as Roxanne easily takes care of Eddie on our first attempt, and the second. Okay, I still think this is possible. And on attempt number 10, we finally hit the jackpot, because Nose Pass misses 5 rock tombs in a row. Someone take me to Vegas, baby, because the big O is feeling lucky. So after a combination of poison from Poison Sting and confusions, we can finally say we have defeated Roxanne. Oh no, wait, yeah, that's right, she's got 2 Geodudes. We can finally say we have defeated Roxanne. So after rescuing a nice old man's pet bird from a Team Aqua grunt, we can meet Mr. President Stone, who tasks us with joining the Amazon delivery team and deliver a letter to his son Stephen. We get to Doofer Town and I speak to this fisherman who gives us the old rod, and we can reel in our second team member, a Tentacool, who I call Carnage. Carnage unfortunately has an adamant nature, so his special attack is reduced, and although it does boost our physical attack, so our poison moves are stronger, I'd still rather the special. In Granite Cave we can meet our third team member, a Zubat called Null. After finding Steven just standing at the very end of this cave, we can tackle the second gym leader, Brawly, and his fighting types. Brawly leads Machop as we send out Eddie. After 2 confusions, Machop goes down, only having time to use a bulk up. Meditite is thrown into the Eddie massacre, and after Brawly wastes both his super potions, Eddie can take Meditite out, leaving his little sumo wrestler Makihita. Eddie uses confusion, which does just under half, as Makihita actually gives Eddie his first damage of the battle, hitting us with a vital throw, doing 3 damage. But with one final confusion, Eddie hits a high roll and Makihita falls, meaning Brawly has nothing else to do but give us our second badge. Slateport City is the only place we haven't been to yet in this corner of the map, so to the sunny seaside city we go. After we have completed our Amazon delivery work placement and defeating a couple Aqua Grunts, we get our first encounter with Team Aqua's leader Archie. But he kinda just monologues and then leaves. Just outside Slateport City we meet a Gulpin who, after naming Riot, brings our team number to 4. I'm actually looking forward to using Gulpin because surprisingly it has access to some really good support moves like Encore and Yawn. Unfortunately his stats aren't that great, and since he evolves after our next level cap, he won't be able to show off his moves just yet. Before we can challenge the third gym, we have the third rival fight with May. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering about the second rival fight after Roxanne, yeah, I just kinda ran by her, and when she asked for a battle, I just said no. Eddie had already been through a lot. May leads with her Lombre, and I send out Null, who outspeeds and takes out the Lombre with a single wing attack. Slugma comes out next, and Null outspeeds and once again takes a kill with a wing attack that crits this time. Last but not least is Marshtomp, which now has its ground typing. Null still outspeeds, so we hit Marshtomp with a wing attack as it just sets up a bite. I decide to go for Supersonic, which misses as Marshtomp builds power. I go for Supersonic again, which also misses again. Marshtomp obviously fails the bite. Null finally lands a Supersonic, but Marshtomp hits us with a water gun, so on the following turn, Null uses wing attack and Marshtomp hits itself in confusion, so Null can give us the victory with a final wing attack. And since we leveled up, Null evolves into Golbat. We do get one final encounter before the greatest run ender in these games, Watson, and it's actually a really good one for this, as it's an Oddish, and thanks to our grass typing we can actually have an electric type resistance. I call our little plant Toxin. With a level cap, Toxin gets to evolve into Gloom, and after just enough love-filled running, Null evolves into the incredible Pokemon Crobat. Now it's time for Watson. In full transparency, some of the footage is gone from this fight. I searched high, low, and well, even in the middle, but it was just gone. I'm not perfect, I could have done a full Flygon HG mode and made a beautiful replacement for this situation, but I don't know how to do that. Watson leads with his Voltorb, which loves to self-destruct as I send out Crobat. Thankfully it does not. Crobat outspeeds the sentient Pokeball and hits a bite. Voltorb uses a Spark, which paralyzes, but our held Cherry Berry activates. Null hits the Voltorb with a second bite that flinches. On the following turn, a wing attack is just enough to kill Watson, so he sends out Electric. I use Bite and Electric uses Howl, raising its attack stat. I use an Astonish, thinking it would do just barely enough damage so that a Bite would take the kill on the next turn, but it does way more than I expected, so Watson uses a Super Potion. Null hits a wing attack doing half, and then on the next turn I go for a Bite hoping it's just enough, but we are just short, so Electric hits Null with a Shockwave, leaving him with 28 HP. A Bite does take the kill on the next turn, and out comes Manectric. Now, this is where the footage is gone. I must have paused the recording, went away from the computer for a wee bit, and then when I came back, must have never turned on the recording till after the fight. Unfortunately, Riot actually went down in this fight too. After heroically taking Watson's Magneton into the yellow with 3 Rock Smashes, taking its defense down 3 stages in the process. From there, Eddie was able to come in and hit a critical hit Confusion, which was just enough for the kill, and that gave us the win, but at what cost? Sure, I have my integrity, I stayed honest, but I'm 2 videos into my channel and already lost footage. In the Fiery Path, I catch a Coughing named Agony. Now I could have caught a Grimer in this location, but I was hoping for a Weezing. It's a Pokemon I've never really used before, and in fact, I haven't used any of the Pokemon in this challenge except for Eddie and Null. That's the main reason I like doing these Nuzlockes. Actually, let me know in the comments, what Pokemon had you never used before that a Nuzlocke made you fall in love with? After making a stop in Fall Arbor Town, we can get our last encounter as a Viper. Did you know this Pokemon has 100 base attack and special attack? Only its best move that it learned via level up wasn't Crunch. I give our final team member the name ZZX. I'm gonna regret that name. As the battle begins, Flannery leads with her Numel, and obviously Carnage takes it out with a Bubble Beam. And this is the case with the following Slugma and Camerupt. So all that's left is the dreaded Torkoal. Carnage hits a Bubble Beam, doing just over half as Torkoal uses a Body Slam. So as long as we avoid the paralysis... yeah. With one more bubble beam, Carnage can outspeed and take the fiery tortoise down. Carnage's reward for defeating Flannery is that he can now evolve into Tentacruel. Okay Dad, it's you and me. Time to show you why all the time in your gym was useless. Norman sends out Spinda and Null is my lead of choice. Null hits the panda with a wing attack as Spinda hits a critical hit Psybeam. A second wing attack is enough to kill the bear, so Vigoroth is out next. I stay in and hit another wing attack.
Boom. Hitshot.
Yeah, felt good to bring that back from the first video. Norman throws out Linoon. Null continues his rampage with a fourth wing attack that puts the Linoon into the yellow. It hits a facade doing 26 damage, but since we outspeed, Null can kill his third Pokemon of the battle with a wing attack. So all that leaves is our father's terrifying aloof slacking. Thankfully, the best tactic against the giant sloth is Protect, which our starter Eddie happens to learn by level up. So although we could have gone down to a critical facade, never punished, it's just a case of doing damage with Psychic on the Loathing turns and using Protect on the turn slacking attacks, giving us the win. Now our reward for defeating our dad is the HM for Surf, so Carnage now has an incredible stab move to use. After trudging through the thick grass, we can head into the Weather Institute, only to discover that Team Aqua have taken over. Why do they need a weatherman? I don't know. But after clearing them out and being forced into owning a cast form, we can make it to the home of the 6th gym leader, Winona. But a challenge she is not, as between Carnage using Ice Beams and a couple surfs against Winona's Skarmory, and Agony hitting a strong Thunderbolt against Pelipper, we can expertly claim our 6th gym badge. After easily destroying Max's team of Carnage, I never realised how incredible Tentacruel was until this run. We can skip past Archie and the Team Aqua hideout to face the biggest challenge of this run since the early game. Because once we get to Moss Deep City, all we can do is face Tate and Liza. Tate and Liza are the psychic gym leaders and oh my god, their team is terrifying. Claydol can spam Earthquake and the Xatu, if left unchecked for long enough, can set up Calm Minds. Also Toxin and Agony finally get to evolve, so at least our team is looking a little bit more formidable for this stage of the game. Xatu and Claydol are sent out and I send out Null and Carnage. Null uses the physical Shadow Ball on Claydol and Carnage takes it out and does decent damage to the Xatu with a Surf. And this sends out Lunatone. Xatu uses a Calm Mind, raising its special stats, but on the next turn a Shadow Ball from Null is enough to take the kill and send out Soul Rock. And thanks to the Gen 3 mechanics, Carnage Surf hits both the Psychic Rocks. Soul Rock's held Citrus Berry activates, putting it back into the green. Unfortunately there is no way to take them both out, so I'm at risk to a critical taking one of my guys out. Null uses a Shadow Ball and Lunatone, which takes the kill, and that leaves Soul Rock, who...
Boom. Hitshot.
Gets taken out with a Surf, so despite all of the Tate and Liza Pokemon being able to hit our entire team with super effective moves, we made it through the battle damageless. Now shockingly, Archie and Maxie's master plans have somehow managed to fail. Who knew? So the champion decides to send me, a child, to awaken the legendary Rayquaza, a legendary that has lived for hundreds of millions of years, and despite the fact that it apparently never descends to the ground, here it is. So as we fly down past Kyogre, clearly setting Groudon up to lose, we can witness this. Okay, Wan is all that's left to stop us from progressing to the Elite Four, so after completing the simple ice puzzle we can look to take Wan down and earn our 8th and final gym. Wan sends out his Love Disc, Toxin can obviously take it out with a Giga Drain, and although Celio survives with 1 HP, a follow-up Giga Drain takes the chubby boy down and brings our health back to full. Wan sends out his horrible Kingdra. I send out Agony, who I have taught Shockwave instead of Thunderbolt. a move that cannot miss. So for at least for now, his double teams are useless. Unfortunately, Kingdra can also just use rest, bringing it back to full HP, so after leaving Agony in a turn too long, I can switch into Carnage, our bulkiest Pokemon who gets frozen immediately. Kingdra uses rest on the next turn as I have to hope for a defrost. After a couple turns it comes and I miss. Look, for your guys' sanity, I'm just going to skip ahead like 10 minutes of real time to Kingdra finally going down after maxing its evasion and using rest like 4 times. Wan still has 2 Pokemon left and so he sends out Wishcash. After pivoting through Null on an Earthquake, we bring Toxin in as Wishcash uses Amnesia. Toxin hits a Petal Dance, which is just enough for the kill, so Wan is left with his Crawdaunt, who uses Taunt. But a Petal Dance takes the Lobster out, giving us the most stupid, mind-numbing badge of my life. Screw you, Wan, and your annoying Kingdra. And now we're here, at the beginning of the end of our story. As we stand before the Elite Four, we have nothing left in the way of our destiny. Wait, what? With everybody appropriately trained up to the level cap at 55 to match Drake Salamence, here's how everyone's ended up looking. Carnage has been trained to be an incredible special attacker and bulky sweeper with eyes on Drake and his dragon types. Null is looking to continue his dominance of the bosses of this region, as he's solidified himself as our best physical attacker by far, and with an incredible 174 speed stat, there is nothing that can even come close to outrunning him. Thanks to the great moves she can learn and some tactical special attack investment, Agony has positioned herself as our surprise grass and water counter. Toxin has quietly been carrying a lot of the late game considering, the vast oceans we've had to cross. With her ability Chlorophyll and the TM for Sunny Day, we could lead to some fun strats with Solar Beam. Eddie, our starter, has finally decided what kind of attacker they want to be, and that's a physical one, just so he can use Silver Wind. Hands up if you thought Eddie would still be here all the way back after the Roxanne Gauntlet. And last is Zezix. Zezix was another quiet carry for actually most of this game. In a different world he could have been the perfect counter for Drake with his hidden power Ice, but unfortunately his terrible IV spread meant he's only able to be this kind of awkward mix attacker with Crunch and Earthquake. This is our team for Drake, Glacia, Phoebe, Sydney, and of course, Wallace. What will be once we pass these doors will be. Our fate is now in the hands of our poison types and Arceus themselves. Up first in this gauntlet is Sydney, and with the boost from matching the level cap, he's generally not a concern. He sends out Mighty Iena and we send out Carnage. A Surf from our Jelly leaves Sydney jelly because it takes his Pooch out in one hit. So he sends out Shiftry, the grass dark type. I keep Carnage in and hit another Surf, taking him down to about 60%. On the following turn, an Ice Beam takes Shiftry out. Next is Sydney's second grass dark type Cacturn, but it is also one shot by Carnage. One of my faves, Crawdaunt, comes out, so I switch into Toxin as the Crawdaunt uses Sword Dance. But Toxin outspeeds and knocks the Crawdaunt out with a Giga Drain, and now all that's left is Absol. I switch into Agony as Absol sets up a Sword Stance. Agony outspeeds and hits a Thunderbolt, but Absol gets greedy and uses a second Sword Stance, so a final Thunderbolt gives us the... Wow, that did like nothing. Since we left Absol with a Slither, Sydney uses a full restore, but 2 more Thunderbolts take the disaster Pokemon out. Yeah, more like Sydney. Jeez, that Pokemon was a disaster.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Phoebe and her ghost types are second, and the first of our 2 Dusclops comes out as our starter Eddie is our lead. Dusclop uses Protect, so Eddie's Toxic misses, but on the following turn, Toxic successfully lands. As Dusclop does 30 damage with a Shadow Punch, Eddie uses Psychic, which drops Dusclop's special defense. Dusclop uses a Curse, which after the toxic damage leaves our foe in the red, so Dusclops gets fully healed as we switch into Zezix. Thanks to Eddie's hard work, a Crunch from Zezix is now a guaranteed one-shot, so Phoebe sends out one of her Bannettes. Don't know which one it is, so don't ask. Zezix takes the unconfirmed Bannett out with another Crunch, so out comes Dusclops number 2. Since number 2 knows Earthquake, I switch into Null, but Null continues his crit rampage with another Shadow Ball, so Phoebe only has 2 Pokemon left. Her penultimate Pokemon, Banette, falls to another Shadow Ball, so one of the many double team spanners we have to face in this Elite Four, Sableye, is left. And after many turns of missing and a switch into Zizix later, we can finally say, screw you, Phoebe. Glacia and her ice types are third, and so on her lead, Celio, I go with Zizix. Zizix hits the mound of blubber with a lone, good poison type move, as Celio just sets up Hail, so a second Sludge Bomb knocks her foe out. Glacia brings out Glalie, I decide to stay in, and we hit a hard Sludge Bomb, but get hit with an Icy Wind reducing our speed. Since we don't outspeed anymore, I switch into Carnage on a very weak Ice Beam. Carnage takes the Glalie out with a Surf as the hail stops. The second of Glacia's Celios comes out and I decide to hit it with a Toxic as it sets up a second round of hail. Carnage hits a Hidden Power Grass, taking Celio into the yellow as it responds with a Double Edge, which puts us at half health after the hail chip. Carnage takes the kill with another Hidden Power, so Glacia sends out our second Glalie. I decide to switch into Agony, who gets hit by a Shadow Ball. Agony hits Glalie with a Flamethrower, putting it in the red, but Glalie decides it's had enough of this world and uses Explosion, which Agony just barely survives. And so all that remains is Walrein. I switch into Eddie, who's left with just over 50% from my Surf. Eddie sets up a Toxic, so now the Walrein is on borrowed time. Walrein hits Eddie with an Ice Beam, leaving Eddie with just 21 HP, so I decide to get some recovery with Moonlight, but get took right back into the red with another Ice Beam. I use Moonlight again, but Walrein decides to go for Body Slam, so now we're sitting at 62 HP. Eddie uses his third Moonlight in a row, sitting at almost full health. Walrein uses an Ice Beam again, which leaves Eddie just barely above half. We use Psychic on the Walrein, looking to leave Walrein with just enough HP to go down to Toxic Chip, as Walrein hits a Surf, which takes Eddie out. The worst part is, we don't even kill, somehow even though Walrein's health bar is definitely below 50%. On the next turn, Walrein uses its Citrus Berry, so the toxic damage didn't even kill. So, Eddie died for nothing. Toxin comes out as Walrein uses a full restore. Toxin hits a Giga Drain, which brings our murderous foe back in the red, so on the following turn, Glacia heals again as Toxin's second Giga Drain brings Walrein just above the red. Walrein hits Toxin with an Ice Beam, which leaves Toxin in the yellow, so a Petal Dance takes out Walrein. Screw you, Glacia. Double screw you. That death hurt. Like, really hurt. Having Eddie from the very beginning and him carrying more of the run than you would think. And sure, I could blame myself for that. But I'm not. I'm going to blame Glacia and our cheating Walrein. Drake sends out Shelgon as Carnage one-shots him with an Ice Beam. Out comes Flygon, one-shot by an Ice Beam. Altaria, one-shot by an Ice Beam. Kingdra, obviously not one-shot by an Ice Beam, so Carnage uses Toxic as Kingdra hits a Body Slam. Carnage hits the Kingdra with an Ice Beam as it uses Dragon Dance. On the following turn, Kingdra outspeeds and hits another Body Slam, putting us in the yellow, but an Ice Beam plus the Toxic Chip knocks out the Seahorse. So all that remains between us and the champion is the World Champion Pokemon, which a good portion of people who know far more than I do about competitive Pokemon view as one of the best to ever do it, the pseudo-legendary Salamence, who Carnage outspeeds and kills with an Ice Beam. And now here we are, Wallace, the champion of Hoenn. Wailord is his lead and ours is Agony. Agony hit the Gigantuan Pokemon with a Thunderbolt, leaving it in the yellow as Wailord hits us with a Blizzard. Agony takes out the whale with a second Thunderbolt, so Wallace sends out Wishcash. I set up a Sunny Day as Wishcash uses Amnesia. I switch into Toxin as Wishcash uses another Amnesia. Thanks to the sun, our beautiful flower can now outspeed and hit a Solar Beam which leaves Wishcash in the red. Wishcash responds with a hard Earthquake, and then on the following turn uses a full restore as a second Solar Beam from Toxin happily knocks out Wishcash. Milotic is next, and with our final turn of Sun, Toxin uses a Solar Beam, which crits. Wallace sends out the Carnage Imposter, so we opt to stay in for some stupid reason, so obviously Tentacruel outspeeds and nearly kills Toxin. Toxin replies with a Giga Drain, doing just a little bit. Now, I'm going to be honest, I have no idea why I do what I'm about to do. I decide to stay in with Toxin, who obviously dies to a second Ice Beam. I think I sacrificed Toxin for a clean switch, but looking at the team, I'm not really sure I had to do that, but I'm not going to doubt myself. Ziziox comes out, probably a little confused as to what happened, but Tentacruel misses a Hydro Pump and takes out the fake Carnage with Earthquake. Gyarados, the hero of so many Nuzlockes but the possible bringer of destruction for mine, comes out. I switch into Agony, expecting Gyarados to use Earthquake. Success. So on the following turn I have a choice. Risk a Thunderbolt low roll or take the kill with an Explode and say goodbye to another teammate. I risk the Thunderbolt knowing with Eddie and Riot and Toxin looking down on us, Agony can do it. Come on. Yeah! All that's left is Wallace's Ludicolo. I hit a Flamethrower as Ludicolo begins the double team nightmare. Agony hits through evasion and brings Ludicolo into the yellow and burns it as it sets up a Leech Seed. So I switch into Null, and as long as we hit this turn, the run is ours. This is terrible. Ludicolo is now back to full health and now at +2 evasion. We then proceed to miss 3 more hidden power poisons, so now Ludicolo is at +4 evasion. Null finally hits a hidden power, leaving Ludicolo in the red again, but my nightmare continues as Ludicolo hits a critical hit Surf, taking Null out. Carnage comes in and somehow lands a Toxic through all of this as Ludicolo uses another double team. So of course we start missing again, so Ludicolo sets up a Leech Seed, but our Liquid Ooze ability means even though our health goes down, so does our foes. And after all that Toxic and Ooze damage puts Ludicolo down to the red again. After missing another 4 moves in a row, our health is in the red. So our Pacifist run has to end and we switch into our last Pokemon with any bit of health left, Ziziox. And the final clock on this run is now on. Ziziox has to hit a Sludge Bomb. If he fails, the run ends. Oh, that battle sucked. In fact, no. Ludicolo sucked. I forgot how horrific that Ludicolo can be if you can't take it out quickly, and unfortunately I think the luck the game gave us several times in this run via Null getting incredibly clutch crits came back to reap its payment. And obviously the correct play looking back on it would have been using Explosion on the Ludicolo. Fun fact, we outspeeded it. So I should have did it, but in a very bittersweet moment we get whisked away and our team is etched into the record books, and I have proven that yes, team of poison types can defeat Pokemon Emerald using Hardcore Nuzlocke rules. Once again, if you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, give it a like. Thank you for watching. My name has once again been Orin WTF. Goodbye.